Longer, so we will join him now.
evening.
We'll see you at 6.
Ending on America Today, Mikhail Gorbachev here to speak at the United Nations, to meet with President Reagan and soon to be President Bush. And the Space Shuttle Atlantis coming home from space. Secret mission accomplished.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. It isn't every year that a Soviet leader comes to New York, and Mikhail Gorbachev has already proved that he isn't just another Soviet leader by any means. And he brings Raisa Gorbachev with him, who, if the past is any example, will tantalize many Americans with her own outspoken way of looking at the world. Mr. Gorbachev apparently comes with two main objectives: to impress on the United Nations his view of where the world should be going, and to find out as best he can what George Bush thinks on the very same subject. Will there be continuity in Soviet-American relations? We begin with our Moscow correspondent, Walter Rogers.
10 hours after taking off from Moscow, Mr. Gorbachev's plane touched down in New York, marking his second visit to the United States in a year. But Gorbachev quickly signaled he has come to speak to the world when he addresses the United Nations tomorrow.
We are living in a world which is going through some very crucial changes, and all nations have their own concerns, their own interests.
The Soviet leader's tone was moderate, and although he appeared to recognize that when he meets with Mr. Reagan and Mr. Bush, he will be dealing with a government in transition, he was nonetheless eager to get on with the business begun with the Reagan administration.
The meeting itself will doubtless promote greater dynamism in the dialogue and an expansion of cooperation between our two countries.
Gorbachev is keeping everyone guessing about what he will propose at the United Nations. Arms control remains his highest priority, and he could announce new initiatives to reduce conventional military forces in Europe. Gorbachev may also make a case for easing U.S. laws that restrict trade with the Soviet Union, laws passed in the 1970s after Moscow denied Soviet Jews the right to emigrate freely. But the Soviet human rights situation is improving now, and Mr. Gorbachev wants the trade barriers to come down to help his struggling economy. Tonight, the Gorbachevs are staying here at the Soviet mission near the United Nations. There is nothing on the Soviet leader's public schedule for this evening, and Soviet officials are not saying anything, letting the silence build public expectations about Mr. Gorbachev's speech to the United Nations tomorrow, as well as his meetings with Mr. Reagan and Mr. Bush. Walter Rogers, ABC News, New York.
The Gorbachev motorcade was 3 blocks long when it left the airport. In New York, even one single-minded driver can cause a traffic jam. Here's Brian Rooney.
The sign on New York's Triborough Bridge warned drivers away from the city today. Newspaper boys hawked the headline, "Red Alert." By 3:15, the Russians were coming down the Van Wyck Expressway, over the bridge, and deep into the heart of Manhattan. All traffic on the east side was frozen as police lined the route to the Soviet mission. By 3:30, you could have rolled a bowling ball down 2nd Avenue as traffic piled up on the blockaded side streets.
I understand this, but I live here on the east side, and it's not fair to me.
Peace can wait, but not New Yorkers. Gorbachev's route today took him across the southern end of Long Island and into the east side of Manhattan, virtually shutting down traffic on a quarter of the island.
As you can see, that Gorbachev has done something that probably no other Russian's ever done. He's bringing New York City to a standstill.
Today's trip was relatively short, but tomorrow Gorbachev covers half the island. After a meeting on Governor's Island, the 45-car motorcade is expected to wind its way through the city, taking in the sights of the World Trade Center, Wall Street, and Ground Zero, Times Square at rush hour.
As the sun went down, maybe Mikhail Gorbachev could hear the welcoming sounds of New York, the distant din of horns honking in a traffic jam. Brian Rooney, ABC News, New York.
Tomorrow, Mr. Gorbachev begins his day with that speech to the UN. Then he goes to Governor's Island for his meeting with President Reagan and Mr. Bush. And our live coverage will begin with Mr. Gorbachev's speech at 11 Eastern Time. Reality check. Within hours of Mr. Gorbachev's arrival here in New York, the